r/NoSleep. Posted by you/CallMeStarr. I see monsters. They're everywhere. Let me explain. My childhood was full of monsters. Most of these monsters were the adults, but not exclusively. I quickly learned that other children were unaware of these monsters. The other kids didn't notice that our grade 1 teacher, Mrs. DeRosa, was a monster. She had long, spiderwebbed fingers that turned into claws when she became angry, her hair was of no actual color and her eyes were two dark holes in the middle of her ginormous head, plus, she was always hungry. Don't get me started on the principal. My parents thought I was crazy and maybe I was. The doctors certainly thought so. Turns out I wasn't. It didn't take long before I learned to keep my mouth shut on this matter. Instead, I learned to cope. At least my parents weren't monsters. I would have known, right? At age 13 I became obsessed with computer programming and dove headfirst into it. Now, as an adult, I'm an IT guy. Need help sorting out your pesky computer problems? Call me, I'm an expert. Actually, to be honest, I'm not bragging or anything, but over the years I've proven to be the best in the biz, which is why I wasn't totally shocked when I received a request to visit Washington, D.C. last month to clean up some important government files, 2 desktops and a pile of laptops. They wouldn't let me work remotely. They wanted to watch over me, which they did. They're still watching over me. What I've found on those laptops has been keeping me up at night. This is why I'm telling you this, but even after what I've discovered, I'm not disclosing any names. I may see monsters, but I'm not an idiot. Before I continue, let me try and explain what I mean by monster. Lately, interest in these so-called lizard people has been showing up on certain online forums. Their claims aren't quite right, but not quite wrong either. I understand that certain people recognize these creatures for what they truly are, monsters, but are confused by what they're seeing, so they use lizard people as a blanket term. I'll have to accept that. But that's not what I see. I see creatures who feed off the fear of humans, who lurk in shadows and hold high positions in firms. Some are janitors at schools. Monsters like little boys and girls, you know? Some people claim that the world is run by Satanists. I'm not claiming that either. I have no skin in this game. I've avoided politics and religion my entire life and at this point all I want to do is settle down, find myself a life partner, finding a soulmate sure would be nice, and raise a family. Wow, I must be getting old. Anyway, monsters do exist. They always have. And not just in this world. There are others. These monsters are actual beings just like you and me, but they're not of this earth, not of this dimension, in fact, and they live much longer lives than humans which gives them a hefty advantage over us. Did I mention how they hate humans with all their hearts, especially little children? Okay, so back to why I'm here telling you this. Like I said, I got the call to fix some laptops and such for these fat cats in Washington, D.C. They offer me more money than I know what to do with and pay up front. I gladly accept. After a week of screening, testing, profiling and indoctrination, I was led into a dark and dingy room that smelled of stale bread. I was surrounded by a group of unsmiling businesswomen and men in sharp suits. I don't trust these people. Most of them are monsters. Whether or not they realize I am onto them remains unclear. But I am starting to suspect they know. Monster must never be trusted. I got started on their laptops first, which as I suspected, were in total disarray. How anyone could let their computers become this bogged down is beyond me, yet sadly, I've seen worse. Plenty worse. Before I began working my magic, I did something I don't normally do, something unethical. I made a copy of everything on their hard drives, easily getting around their novelty security measures. Please note, although most IT guys do this regularly, if you've ever hired one chances are they know your dirty secrets. I've only ever done this once before. It was on my girlfriend's computer, and all I found was a backlog of Disney classics. I spent most of last week going through what they were hiding on those computers and laptops. What I've discovered is a national threat. Hell, it's a global threat. Maybe worse. I saw videos of government doctors and agents in white lab coats doing ungodly experiments on pregnant women. Most but not all of them were monsters. In fact, I believe the human doctors were unaware of the creatures they were collaborating with. After spending 4 nights glued to my screen, watching these experiments, I've concluded this: the monsters are breeding. They take pregnant women and somehow inject their monster DNA into the fetus. Meanwhile, the mother goes home and remembers nothing unusual or out of the ordinary. The baby is born a monster. There's more. 3 nights ago, I discovered a database of all the monsters and their date of births and addresses and occupations and politics. Which means, The Secret Service is aware of these monsters, and they've been harvesting and monitoring them all along. What I've learned is beyond terrifying. Once a monster is born into this world, its offspring becomes a monster as well. Even if the other parent is normal, which is usually the case. These experiments date back to March 6, 1964. Gotta go there at my back door. I'm starting to wish I hadn't done what I done. I should never have peeked inside those computers. Some things are better off not knowing, just like some people should never be trusted. Especially, monsters. Better yet, I should know have taken the job, although it's starting to look like I had no choice. These people mean business. I'm getting for real scared now. Bad vibes everywhere. They are watching me. I see their reflection in my screen, a cold blank stare that could chill a block of ice. Something inside me starting to change. I'm feeling sick, but I took conv test before they let me in. This is different. My fingers are getting webbed. My ability to type are getting bad. I dunno why. I'll be back tomorrow to conclude me work. Not much time. I'm fighting this. Bastards. Monsters everywhere, they know. Okay. So I'm back and something is wrong. Really wrong. I can see my reflection now. I am a monster. It's in me now. I'm infected. Help us all, they are here. Save yourself. The next story of this video. Posted by you/CallMeStarr. There's a monster under my bed and nobody believes me. Scratch, scratch, scratch. What's that? I thought. I pulled off my earbuds and placed them beside me on my bed. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Must be a stray cat. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It's coming from under my bed. My stomach filled with butterflies. Then I heard it whisper my name. PSST, Danny. Come down here. I wanna show you something. It spoke in the deepest voice I've ever heard. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I froze. Scratch, scratch, scratch. PSST. Danny. Look under your bed. I've got something for you. You'll love it. Mommy. I called out. I knew she'd be mad at me. She was. What is it, Danny? She asked. She was buttoning up the last button on her blue-collared work shirt. You know I don't have time for this. There's a monster under my bed. There, I said it. I'm only 8 years old, so nobody takes me seriously. What? I don't have time for this, she repeated. Scratch, scratch, scratch. The hairs on my neck pricked up. My mother, who was shutting my bedroom door, stopped. She heard it too. What was that? She asked. The monster, I blurted out. Tears were pouring down my cheeks. Mommy got angry. Geez, Danny boy. What have you gotten yourself into now? Do you want mommy to be late for work? You know I don't like working the late shift. But that's how I put food on your plate. But. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Mommy rolled her eyes and shook her head. Probably a fucking squirrel, she said under her breath. I hate hearing her swear. She approached my bed. By now the scratching was non-stop. Carefully, she bent down and looked under my bed. You see, she said, it's nothing. Just a. She disappeared. I heard her body being dragged underneath the bed, or it may have been my imagination. Either way, she was gone. She vanished. Mommy. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Beside my bed, leaning against my night table, was my RGB lightsaber. My father gave it to me as a surprise the last time he visited. I reached over and tried to grab it. I had to stretch my fingers as far as they could reach before I was able to grab hold of it. It felt wonderful in my hand. The question was, could it save me from the monster under my bed? PSST. Danny. I gulped. A million thoughts were racing through my mind. Should I answer? No, I concluded. That would only make it more real. PSST. Danny. Your mother's waiting for you. She likes it down here. You will too. I screamed for my brother. Jake. Jake. Come quick. No response. I knew why, he was wailing on his guitar in his bedroom with his headphones cranked. I texted him, help. Help. He responded right away. Come quick. The scratching under my bed intensified. Something was jabbing me from underneath my bed and I screamed. I imagined a hideous creature reaching up from under my bed and pulling me under and eating me. Just like it ate mommy. I considered moving from my bed but I was too scared. I was trembling all over. Jake, come quick. He appeared. What's up, Danny boy? Jake is 14 and is the coolest person I know. He was smiling, his shoulder-length blonde hair was concealing his eyes, which I knew were red. Seeing him there, standing at the foot of my door made my mood improve slightly. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I tried to speak but my heart was racing and so was my mind and all that came out was gibberish. Whoa, whoa. Slow down, champ, Jake said. He stepped inside my room. It got Mom. It got Mom. What did? The monster under my bed. I was crying. I wanted this all to be a dream. I wanted to wake up and have everything back to normal. Except, I knew this wasn't a dream. I knew this was real. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Jake brushed his bangs from his eyes. They were, in fact, red. I started, trying to speak slowly and clearly, as if our lives depended upon this very moment. There's a monster under my bed. It took Mommy. By now the grip on my lightsaber was impenetrable. Jake laughed. Oh Danny, he said as he walked nonchalantly toward my bed. The scratching continued. Let's see what's really down here. He got down on his knees. I wanted to tell him to be careful. I wanted to tell him this was for real. I wanted to tell him to save Mommy. Most of all, I wanted him to get rid of the monster under my bed. Look, he said, as he reached underneath my bed. It's just a... He was swept under the bed. Then he was gone. My room fell silent. I could hear my own heart beating. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Jake. Silence. I should text Daddy, I thought. Daddy can kill any monster. Scratch, scratch, scratch. PSST, Danny. Your brother Jake says hi. He says you'll love it down here. What do you want? I finally asked. My voice sounded small. Snot was running down my nose. I wiped it on my pajamas. There was a pause which felt like an eternity. I heard the scratching again. Then my bed started shaking. Something came over me. I got mad, furious, in fact. I stroked my lightsaber then I leaned over to the edge of my bed. There was no trace of Mommy or Jake. Even as an 8-year-old I knew this was impossible. My stomach was in knots, my nerves were shaky. But I was going to do this. I was going to lunge at it and strike it down with my trusted lightsaber. Or I was going to die. Okay, I told the monster under my bed in a shaky voice. I'm coming down. I'll try surprising it, I thought. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I'll come down on 3, I told the monster under my bed. I tried to sound confident. Scratch, scratch, scratch. 1. I paused for dramatic effect. 2. I held my lightsaber close to my heart. My palms were sweaty. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I exhaled. I opened my eyes. I was ready. I leapt off my bed and looked underneath.